Supposedly. We have to make our own applause around here.
Let's have my wife stand behind me and clap the whole time.
All right. All right, here we go. There we go. Here it is. More applause. More applause.
And even more applause. Where's it coming from?
Look at that. Hey, Ned. We got Ned here. Ned Halen, everybody.
Nettie Van Halen.
What's he trying to do? Wow, I've never seen him sitting up on the chair like that.
As he goes for the triple Lindy.
Very impressive.
Wow, Ned.
Look at that.
Is there catnip in that box?
I don't know what's in that box, but I'll open it later. Man, hey everybody, welcome. This is Johnny Beane, Jay Hannon, Matt Blackett. Look at this.
Another round of applause.
Oh my gosh, the applause is deafening. The applause is deafening. I've been completely upstaged by that cat, though. I know when I can't compete, so I'm just going to say thank you, good night, and I'm out of here.
So long, everybody.
Good night, Matt. Oh, just kidding.
Oh,
Just
no.
kidding. There you are. Okay.
Okay, I deserve that.
Welcome, everybody. This is, well, we're talking guitars, we're talking Van Halen, we're talking to Matt Blackett, and it is October 8th, 2021, 8:10 p.m. Eastern, 5:10 Pacific.
That's
Out
where
here.
you guys are. Both you guys are West Coast?
I am indeed.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we're still neighbors, somewhat.
Yeah, and we're neighborly regardless.
Last time I saw you, yeah. Actually, I do have a photo of us together. I was going to hopefully show. I probably should have showed it to you before.
Well, hold on, because you're ruining my first question now. My first question was, how did you guys meet? You know, so don't.
Well, we met the same way I meet almost everyone in the music business, and that was through Dave Lopez. And so I believe it was at Soundwave Studios, and we had a shared love of Van Halen, a shared love of Dave Lopez. Make of that what you will.
Wow.
And I think the rest is history.
I know exactly when we met. I remember it was at Soundwave Studios in Oakland. It was one of the jam nights that we used to have.
Right.
Back in we're talking 2011, 2012.
Something like that. I miss them. I miss those jam nights.
Yeah. And I remember I walked into the studio there and where the old office at Soundwave used to be, there was a door that was open. And you walk in, and I walk in, and I see you standing there holding a Frankenstein guitar with our friend Matt Carmella. And he was showing you this guitar that he just got or had made or something. And you were holding the guitar, and I walked in, and Matt's like, Johnny, because I've known Matt for a lot of years. Thank you again to Dave Lopez. And I remember saying to you, hey, I know you from Guitar Player.
Your recollections are far clearer than my own of this, but I believe you. So we're going to take that and run with it. That's awesome.
I remember that. And then, of course, every year after that, I would see you at Jason Becker's house.
That's right. Yep. The Jason birthday parties and then subsequent jams at Soundwave too, when those were still happening. And that was a good time. I do miss it. You know, it's just, it's a different world right now.
Yeah. Man. But hey, really quickly, let's say hello to the executive producers here on Johnny Beane TV.
Ooh.
They are Dave Ennis. Mike Neese, Music Therapy Lads, Majestic PB and J Cat, Wayno, False Flag, Andy Carson, Michael B, R Habs, The Chad, Lenny Lou and Mary, James Gum, John Moronic, Stephen Franklin, Michael Smith,
The captain.
there you go, the captain, Thomas Santiago, John Beal, Joe Christian, and Steve Carmichael.
Steve Carmichael!
That is the top tier of channel membership here on Johnny Beane TV YouTube channel. If you'd like to become a channel member, an executive producer, click the join button right below the 18 thumbs ups currently. Thank you so much, you guys. And we have other announcements which we'll sprinkle throughout the evening.
We'll sprinkle them.
So yeah. Yeah. So Jay, great to see you.
Always good to see
Great
you,
to
Johnny. It's
see
only
you.
it's only like
I've
three
missed you.
times a week. 3 times a week we do this, right? 2 or 3 times I see you on here.
Yeah, and all day in the Facebook Messenger.
Yeah.
That thing goes off nonstop. Matt, we've got this group messenger on Facebook with a bunch of the guys that we do these shows, and it's like all day the thing's going off. Like, hey, did you see this? Did you see this? You know.
And do you get the sound alerts for it? Is it just dinging all day long? Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I turn those off. I turn those off. Some of them, some groups you just have to turn them off. Well, not actually that one, it does alert me, but it's silent. But some groups that I'm in, whether it be a text thread or a messenger thread, I have the alerts off entirely. Otherwise, it's literally all day, you know. And it's at that point, it just gets like, all right, you know, I'll check it when I have time.
Yeah, turning off the alerts has absolutely saved several friendships that I have. It's just, yeah, okay, we're going to get along way better if I don't hear this at all hours of the day or night.
Mm-hmm. And especially, you know, with those guys being on the West Coast and me on the East Coast, you know, the whole time differential thing, you know, if it's 3 a.m. here and I'm trying to go to sleep, those guys, it's still only midnight, you know, so they might be firing off farts or something at 12 o'clock their time.
Yeah, we just get started with the farting and the parties.
Yep.
You know. So I don't know, Jay, did you want to say who's in the chat?
Well, let's before we do that, let's just get into, I mean,
get right into it.
Get right into some kind of Van Halen start of Van Halen, Matt, about like, you know, getting into that type of stuff. Cause I listened to something that Johnny sent me today, and you literally go back being a fan 1978. So it wasn't like later on that you found out about this Van Halen thing. You know, it was kind of right from the start. Is that right?
That's exactly right. Yeah. And it was an amazingly fun and exciting time to be a kid getting into guitar. I was living in Novato, California, and we had this guy named Mike Varney who was working at the local record store there. And so Van Halen 1 hit, and I've written about this before. My neighborhood went from having 0 guitarists and 1 bass player to having half a dozen people take up the guitar and start playing in garage bands inside of a year. And it was all because of Van Halen. And so for me, I caught that bug as well, and just said to my mom, like, do you think I could ever get an electric guitar? And she was cool enough to say, yeah, I think we could do that. And so I went, got an electric guitar. This was 1979. And I got to see Van Halen in 1979 right there in Marin at the Marin Vets Auditorium that only holds about 3,000 people. So it was like a just crazy time, you know, life-changing event. And everyone was playing guitar suddenly. And it was like, you know, you hear the stories about the Beatles being on the Ed Sullivan Show. It was absolutely like that. It changed the entire town that I lived in, which is all I knew at that time. But then I have come to realize, because I've researched this stuff, it changed the whole world at the exact same time. And so yeah, it was amazingly cool and exciting to just, you know, that was like the second show I ever saw was Van Halen. And so you just think like, okay, well, I guess this is what concerts are like, you know? And so I feel very lucky about it. And then not to jump too far forward, but I got to talk to Michael Anthony many years later, and we were just down the road from the Marin Vets Auditorium. And I told him, hey, the first time I saw you guys was right up the road at the Marin Vets Auditorium, 1979. And he goes, no, that wasn't us. I'm going, yeah, no, it was. I mean, it definitely was. And he goes, no, we were already headlining. And I said, I know, but I was there. And yes, you guys played the Marin Vets Auditorium. And he goes, no, that wasn't us. And I said, Mike, I've got the fucking shirt, man. And he goes, okay. You obviously remember this a lot better than I do. And it's like this sort of secret show, and like we've all seen the Fresno footage that's right around there. Yeah. So Fresno was either right before or right after this show. And I feel like it was right after it because I think this was like sort of a warm-up show for that, because I remember, I was so impressionable at the time. I remember the stories that Dave told, and he told the same stories at Fresno word for word that I heard at the Marin Vets Auditorium. And so, yeah, that's how it started. And then it's just been, this lifelong study and appreciation of the greatness of Eddie Van Halen, that continues to this day. And, this shirt I got at the 1984 tour still fits. I cut the sleeves off because that's what you did in 1984. So I'm wearing a shirt underneath it to spare you guys the gun show. Yeah, but, I still have the shirt from '79 tour as well, but I cannot fit into that one.
Wow. So what venue was the 84 show? Was that
84 for me was Cow Palace. Okay. And actually I think this shirt was purchased in Virginia because a high school buddy of mine saw the tour before they came to California. And I think he actually bought me this shirt. I grew up I went to high school on the East Coast. And so I saw like the Diver Down tour and the Fair Warning tour in Chesapeake, Virginia. But this tour that I saw was Cow Palace. Yeah. And it was amazing. And, people love to talk about that tour. Like, oh no, they were bitter and they didn't like each other and they were, fractured as a band. Maybe they were. It was an amazing show. It was like a life-changing show. And so anyway, yeah. So still got the shirt, wearing it for you guys,
Yes.
Awesome, man. Yeah, I never got to see shows at the Cow Palace. I think that was all before my time. I moved out here in '92, so I don't know if they were doing anything there by that point.
Wrestling.
Yeah, maybe still wrestling. You may be right. I'm trying to think because I saw, like David Lee Roth with Steve Vai there, but that was well before '92. Yeah, so 86. I don't know. I can't tell you the last show I saw at the Cow Palace.
So what venue would they do instead of the Cow Palace then?
It could be the Oakland Coliseum. But yeah, I've seen Van Halen there. You got the outdoor venues like the Shoreline. I've seen Van Halen a bunch of times at the Shoreline. Not at Concord, even though I've seen a lot of shows at Concord. And then a lot of the indoor ones now are like San Jose, the SAP Center. And so I saw Queen there the last couple times, and I've seen, some big pop shows there. But back in the day, yeah, Cow Palace, Oakland Coliseum, Oakland Stadium back in the day, where the A's play. So, they have 80,000 people there or something.
Like the Day on the Green.
Yes, like Day on the Green.
Well, did you go to some of those?
I did. Yeah. Very first show I ever saw was a Day on the Green. And I had to choose. There were all these amazing bills. And so the one that seemed to work out was, in order of appearance, Cheap Trick, AC/DC with Bon Scott, Journey, Blue Oyster Cult, and Ted Nugent. That was the very first show I ever saw. And I lost my mind, and it was amazing. Amazing to see AC/DC. Cheap Trick was great. I'm a pop rocker, so Journey for me was like a big, big deal. But, people forget, back then, this was like 1978. Ted Nugent was like the biggest guitarist in the world, So it was Ted, and it was Jimmy Page, and it was Joe Perry, and I have respect for all those guys. All of their careers hit the skids when Van Halen won, right? And so like Ted went off on a safari. Joe Perry, I'm not sure what he did. Jimmy Page kind of disappeared, and their catalogs speak for themselves. And so I'm certainly not denigrating those guys at all. But overnight, their career trajectory changed when Van Halen 1 came out, for sure.
Yeah.
We already have a quick question, but our friend Alan Garber asks, Matt, did you see Van Halen Oakland 81?
Oakland, no, because I was living on the East Coast at that time. So I did see the 81 tour for sure. And again, I think probably the best one, for me, if I'm getting my math right, that's Fair Warning, right? And so the Fair Warning tour, I think, was when they were at the height of their powers, and they were still great every time I saw them after that. But this was just a freaking buzzsaw that the rest of the world was running into. And I just couldn't believe it, and Eddie was so good. And so, no, didn't see him in Oakland, but I know that footage, right? That's famous footage, and it's great. And it reminds me exactly of what I saw, because they kind of did everything the same on these tours, right? So they wore the same clothes. Dave said the same stuff. It was the same shtick. It was the same set list. They just had it dialed so perfectly that why not? Why would you mess with that? And so you can see the Oakland footage, or you can see bootleg footage from other shows. And, to me, it's all the same, and it's all awesome. It's just amazing. Again, I feel so lucky to have witnessed this kind of stuff. And I never took it for granted, but it was easy to take it for granted because he was always so good. And then when I wasn't seeing him, I was seeing Randy Rhoads. And when I wasn't seeing Randy Rhoads, I was seeing Alex Lifeson, or, these, like, again, life-changing shows that all my favorite guitarists, I got to see them again and again and again. Well, I saw Randy just once, sadly, but you kind of get this sense that every show is going to be this good. And then you live a little and you realize, like, no, every show is not that good. And these were the ones. So again, I choose to focus on the gratitude of it. And I'm just super grateful I got to see it.
Well, Matt, you mentioned, back then, probably most bands, I would assume, they played the same set virtually every night. You talk about Dave, everything was scripted, word for word every night. I mean, those guys, they really didn't know what was going to happen in the future with bootlegs coming out and all this stuff. And nowadays, you go to a concert, there's 30 different angles from a cell phone camera. And so almost like you can't get away. Well, I don't want to say you can't get away with it, but I would think that bands nowadays, or even, the past X amount of years, you kind of have to switch things up. You can't do the same shtick every single show, because it's gonna be like, look, these guys are doing the same thing every single night. It's not, like back then you could, because, no internet to share every single show to find out that they did the same thing. So it's a
that's right.
different,
Well, it is. It's very different, and yet I don't say it in any kind of a critical way, because we've all played in bands and we know what it's like, and you want to get your stuff down, you want to get it dialed in, and then you just want to nail it. You want to crush the performance. And, I'm not a jazz musician, and so I don't need to shake things up. I actually don't particularly like surprises when I'm playing a gig. I kind of want to know what's going on. I practice
so you can play instead of thinking about what's coming up next.
Sort of, yeah, and then it does become about the show and everything. But yeah, you're right. And again, it was years. It wasn't until YouTube that you could see any kind of bootleg footage. It was like YouTube, and it was Napster. Like people could be divided on the whole Napster thing. Napster for me was so awesome because I didn't try and get the latest record from somebody off Napster. I tried to get stuff that you couldn't possibly get anywhere else. And for me, it was all the Van Halen demos, all the Van Halen bootlegs. And I did a deep dumpster dive on Napster with the Van Halen stuff and found just fascinating recordings, the ones, and, I'm sure you guys have heard them, but, they're playing live in somebody's backyard. They've got the car horns there, and we're not used to hearing the car horns without the slowdown effect on it, right? Instead, they would just blast these freaking car horns in the middle of a song at a gig. And it was the coolest thing ever. And I loved all that stuff. And for me, I really saw myself as kind of like an archaeologist with this, that I want to I want to drill down. I want to discover this stuff. I want to know like what were the demos back in 1977, you know, and what were the tunes that, you know, some of which didn't appear until Women and Children First, some of which didn't appear until A Different Kind of Truth, right? And so, you know, I'm fascinated by all that stuff. And I was actually just digging for it today before doing this. I have a version of Eruption with no finger tapping in it. And I think, you know, again, talking about the archaeologist thing, this is the missing link right there, right? This is a version of Eruption before he started tapping. And it's got to be like 1976 or something, because I have another version of Eruption from 77, and he's clearly doing all the finger tapping in there.
Where's the missing link? Where's the last time he didn't do it, and then the first time he did, right?
Yep. And so, and again, the most fascinating thing with that is, you know, he always said he got it from Jimmy Page watching Song Remains the Same. And I always thought, there's no way that's true. There's no way, you know, I don't buy that. And so I was interviewing George Lynch when I was a guitar player many years ago. And he said, yeah, I remember being at a Harvey Mandel gig, and Eddie was there, and Harvey was tapping, like he was really doing it. And I said, do you think that's where Eddie got it from? And he goes, well, that's where I got it from. So, you know, I'm palpitating now, right? My heart is racing. And I said, okay, did you ever talk to Eddie about this? And he goes, no, it never came up. And I said, how do you not talk to him about it, right? This is humongous here. And yet I believe that. I think that's actually where he got it. And I can't prove this. I don't know.
So when would that show have been?
That show would have been somewhere in LA in 1976-ish. And you would have to ask George Lynch what this show was. But he was there. He swears Eddie Van Halen was there. It's Harvey Mandel doing it. And Harvey is absolutely one of those guys who's been on record as tapping way before Van Halen. And, you know, as did Brian May, as did Billy Gibbons and Larry Carlton and a bunch of classical guys and all this. But I'm always going like, okay, where did Eddie get it? And yeah, I was fortunate enough to talk to Brian May about this, and he does a great tapping solo on the tune It's Late on Queen's News of the World record. And it's legit tapping. Like, it's really good. It's good. As far as I can tell, he's never done it before or since. And so I asked him that. I said, you know, it's great tapping. Why didn't you ever do this again? And, you know, he is very prim and proper. And he says, well, I suppose Eddie has sort of ruined it for the rest of us, hasn't he? And I'm thinking, well, kind of, but you're really good at it, you know? And he never had any interest in tapping again, but he did it. That album came out in 1977. Ace Frehley did it in 77, right? Kiss Alive 2. There's all kinds of tapping on that. And so my thing is, I don't know the answer. Eddie's never copped to it. But if I had to bet you $5 right now, I'm going to say it was that Harvey Mandel show that he and George Lynch were at.
Wow. This is
man. Somebody, I just saw somebody in the chat is actually talking about that. Santa Cruz 3600 saying Eddie told Neil Sean it was Mandel.
Wow.
Yep. And I actually, okay, so I'm going to sound like a freaking name dropper here, and I apologize. I don't mean to.
We love name droppers on here.
It's I was at a Jeff Beck show in San Francisco, and I go out in the lobby, and there's Neil Sean talking to Harvey Mandel. And so I go up to him, right? And Neil goes, this is the guy that Eddie Van Halen got his tapping from. And so, yes, I can't confirm it, but I can tell you that's a true story right there.
Wow.
Anyway, but yeah, my apologies. It's not like I pal around with these guys, right? We're not buddies. I just, you know, because of my job, I've been very, very fortunate to have spoken to a lot of my heroes, and I've been able to ask them questions I've always wanted to know the answers to, but I don't want anybody to think that, like, yeah, I'm hanging out and drinking beers with these guys. It's like, no. I drank a beer with Jeff Beck. Okay, there you go. Last one. Sorry, you know, that's the last one.
Well, after we get to some other stuff, I do want to ask you about Jeff Beck. But so
you and I have had beers.
We got to find out the date of that show.
Yeah, we do.
77. We We got to find it out.
Alan Garber.
Alan.
Alan, our friend Alan is in here. He's one of the, like, if anybody could figure that out, he can figure it out. Man. So real quick,
Alan says, but Eddie took right-hand tapping much further. I mean, he came right out of the gate with Van Halen 1 just on fire.
No, and he changed the world.
Yeah.
And so that's not the question as to like who did it first. He's the guy who changed the world. And here we are. That's why we're talking about this, right? I mean, with all due respect to everybody else who did it, it's like, well, no, it's Eddie.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody did something first, right? I mean, not even first. Somebody did something before you did it.
Well, and guitarists love to play that game, right? And so a joke from a good buddy of mine is we're talking about another friend who loves to just bust you on your historical knowledge. And he goes, you could say, I found a caveman beating on a log. And this guy would go, oh, please. Cavemen were beating on logs way before that. What you're referring to is in the mid-Pleistocene, but these guys were beating on logs. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. There we go. And anytime I can work in the mid-Pleistocene in a joke, that's a good day right there.
Man. Alan, there you are. Where's it? In Genesis, Return of the Giant Hogweed.
All right.
Hackett.
Steve Hackett. Yep.
Tapping part.
Yep. Big time tapper, again, pre-Van Halen. It's all true.
And Michael.
But they were all tricks.
Sorry, Johnny, go ahead.
They were just like to everybody else, but Eddie was the first one to make it a part of his actual playing.
Well, that's not, yes and no. Steve Hackett was really good at it. And like he did it, it wasn't a gimmick. I don't think it was a gimmick the way Brian May did it, the way Harvey Mandel did it, and again, they're doing triplets. They're doing what we came to know as this, but they didn't do it with the coolest band of all time. They didn't do it and again, I respect all these players. None of them are Eddie Van Halen. And so you have like the greatest guy with the greatest band. He's doing this technique. It became the most popular style of music. And so, yeah, it's not a fair fight. I mean, he was going to win that war for sure. And he did. And it's not even close. But I do think other people, they did good stuff with this. And like, Larry Carlton does just one note of finger tapping in the Kid Charlemagne solo for Steely Dan. And he talked about that. And he said he and Dennis Budimir, who was another great studio guitarist, got a tape from some guy. This guy claims he got it from Billy Gibbons. And they were just trying to figure out, how was he doing that? How's he doing that? And it wasn't like super speedy triplet stuff. It was essentially just tapping a note, right? But it's a very different sound than if you pick that note on another string or something. But yeah, I guess they were fascinated enough by this that Larry Carlton did one note of this on the Kid Charlemagne solo. And if you listen to it, you can clearly hear it. As far as I can tell, he never did it again. And so, yeah. And so anyway, I don't even know what we're talking about except for Eddie Van Halen's great. There you
never
go.
know what we're talking about. Well, that's all good.
I'm just picturing it now. Like the night, whatever day or night that show happened on, we probably know for a fact that as soon as that show was over, Eddie went home and probably just woodshedded.
Yep.
And just came up with his technique. Because everybody gets something from any guitar player, takes inspiration from other guitar players that they're fans of or whatever, and tries to incorporate. Maybe not tries, but sometimes it just leaks into your playing, and you might see or hear something that a guitar player is doing. You're like, whoa, I like that. How can I make it my own? Kind of take it to where I, would take. So, you could say all you want about, oh, he got it from this person. He made it his own thing, and it sounded like, it ended up being his sound, and if anybody did anything like that after, I was like, oh, it sounds like Eddie Van Halen,
No, you're totally right. And I don't think he ever heard anything from any musician that he liked that he didn't then go exactly as you described it. Like, how can I incorporate this into my trip? And so you think about like the intro to Little Guitars, right? He was listening to Carlos Montoya and he's just going like, all right, I don't have classical technique here. How can I do this? Right. And so he does it by trilling on the high string and hammering on the low strings. And it's awesome. Yeah. Right. And so I think you're exactly right that was his thing. That was one of his greatest gifts, was to have all this incredible innate talent and vision, but then to hear stuff that he thought was cool and instantly incorporate it into what he did.
Yeah, it's hard to do that, to take something.
Oh, it is.
And make it your own sound, and to not have it like somebody like, yeah, that's cool, but that sounds like so-and-so.
That's right.
It's hard to do that.
No, it's funny. That's a Joe Bonamassa quote, when, he plays Strats now, but for years he wouldn't play Strats. And somebody asked him why. And he goes, because I don't care if you play a Bach piece. If you play it on a Stratocaster, people go, oh, so you like Stevie Ray Vaughan, huh? Mm. And so it's like, okay, I get it. I dig, and so, yeah, it's, with Eddie, he laid such a blueprint on this kind of stuff that it really is, it's tricky to do any of those kind of things without it being like a Van Halen thing. And I think now enough time has passed that a lot of us are just sort of going like, well, this is what I do. And there was this Paul Gilbert record many years ago, and he put a Phase 90 on this one lick, and somebody tried to bust him as that being a Van Halen ripoff. And he goes, man, in my mind, these things are in the public domain right now. Right. And so it's like, charging somebody for singing Happy Birthday. These things are so in the lexicon that, yeah, I think we all do it, but that's certainly where we got it, obviously.
Mm-hmm. And wait, you said Paul Gilbert. There's this thing I have to do.
I knew it was going to.
I have to show the selfie.
Look at that. Look at those handsome men.
That's like, how many guitar players would just kill for that selfie?
Well, with you, I know.
Shot.
Yeah, with me.
Well, you know what happened there, Matt. Show that picture real quick. Paul was trying to take a picture with Johnny, and then Nuno saw it and was like, "No, Paul, I want to take a picture with Johnny." So Johnny was like, "Guys, we can fit all three of us in one shot. It's okay. Come on in."
Yeah,
that's what happened.
Actually, what actually happened is they were going to take a picture together, and I just slid right in there at the last second.
I just assume this kind of stuff happens to Johnny Beane everywhere he goes.
It kind of does. It's just kind of weird.
Real quick, Matt, Stephen Frankel wants to know where they can hear a version of Eruption without tapping.
That's a great question. And I swear I have it somewhere, but this is many computer meltdowns ago. And so I'd have to go through hard drives and whatnot. And I don't know. And I can't even say for sure that I heard it, but I think I did. Unless this came to me in a dream, I absolutely heard a version that didn't have any of the tapping. And that kind of makes sense in my mind. And so in like George Tripps, who, has done a lot of work with Van Halen and is a great pedal designer, and is just, he truly is the Van Halen historian in my mind. And I believe he has a version of Eruption with no tapping. At least when he and I talked about it, he seemed to think like, yeah, that makes sense. And I think I've heard that. So I don't know. And I don't have it at my fingertips, but it's a worthy search. It's worth seeking out. And yeah, if anybody finds it, send it to me.
I think Alan found it.
Yeah.
Eruption Live, 1975. He says.
Well, speaking of Alan Garber, Matt, he's transcribed the most accurate. Well, I don't want to say transcribe. Alan has done the most accurate transcription of Eruption that's ever been, I guess, transcribed. Is that proper? Is that the way I said that?
The way you said it is fine. And I may know this guy. Did he do some stuff for Guitar World or somebody like right around the time of Ed's passing? And I was in contact with someone who said like, hey, here's my version of I'm the One, and here's this. And And the stuff I saw was spot on. It was amazing to me, you know, beyond anything I could ever dream of transcribing.
Because I remember I have the Johnny, what's the magazine where Steve Vai transcribed Eruption from obviously years
That was
ago.
Guitar Player.
Yeah.
Guitar
And
player.
I remember
I
even
think
as a
Frets.
huh?
I think it was in a magazine called Frets as well.
No. Frets was the acoustic magazine. I used to be the editor of Frets, and Vai never transcribed anything for Frets. But no, Vai was the transcriptionist for Guitar Player for a time. And so he did Eruption right around the same time they published like the Attitude song from him. And he did crazy stuff. This is back when he still had time to do those kind of transcriptions. And so, yeah, he did Eruption, and he claims he didn't learn it to do it. And so that just shows you like the brain power this guy has, that like he can listen to a song like that and he can write it down on paper
and not sitting there with a guitar
and not play it. Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, so it's next level stuff. Yeah. But anyway, yes, that was Guitar Player magazine. And, you know, right around the same time that they came out with the little, remember the little flexi disc things?
Yeah.
And so that had the Attitude song on it. And then there were a lot of other amazing things around then too. But yeah, that was Vai the transcriptionist. How about that?
Well, I still remember, you know, I guess maybe probably about a year or two after I started playing guitar. I was probably, you know, 15, 16, maybe probably about 16 years old. And you know, my brother had that magazine because he was 4 years older than me, got me into all that stuff. And I remember flipping through it and I was like, holy crap, the Eruption transcription's in here. And I remember, like, not that I, you know, was nailing any of that stuff back then, but I just remember kind of playing stuff and like a couple things in it where I was like, that doesn't sound right, you know, because there are a few parts of that transcription that definitely, you know, aren't talking about Vai's, obviously, that aren't. And, you know, it's just not that I could ever do anything like that, but I'm just saying it was a couple things kind of stuck out that weren't, you know, 100% accurate, I guess.
Well, if there's anything that was inaccurate on it, I would guarantee you that Steve Vai has spoken publicly about that, apologized publicly for it. You know, the guy is so meticulous and he is so buttoned down about those things. And so, so that's funny. Yeah, I've never tried to learn it. I've learned the easy parts, right? But never tried to learn the difficult parts. And I used to play in like a Van Hagar tribute band, and we would do mostly the Sammy part of the catalog, you know, and for me, it was actually really good to revisit that part of the catalog because I just didn't spend nearly as much time with it as I did the first 6 records, and discovered, what do you know, a lot of great songwriting, a lot of brilliant guitar playing, you know, what a concept. And then the singer in the band said, like, so when are you going to start doing Eruption, you know, live? And I said, well, never. And he goes, well, no, you got to. And I said, no. And I said, I don't do that, you know, and I have way too much respect for Eddie Van Halen's music to go out there and do a half-assed version of Eruption. I'm not going to do that. And he goes, well, what if you practice it? And I said, okay, have we met? You know? And I said, if I could have learned that, I would have learned it 30 years ago. I can't do it, okay? And I'm not going to do it. And it's funny because it's like, you know, Johnny, you know, Jude Gold. Jude can actually play Eruption. Like, he can do it, you know, and I've watched him and I'm going like, okay, that's amazing. You know, like the only person that plays Eruption better than Jude is Eddie Van Halen. And what's funny is he had to sit down with Paul Gilbert and they were talking about this one part, and Paul's showing him how he plays it, and he's playing all the notes, right? He's playing all the notes, but he's picking this one note. Yeah, I saw that. Picking this one note, and Jude's going like, now I'm sure, you know, and it's an E, right? So Paul's fretting it at the 5th fret of the B string, and Jude's going, now I think he plays that as an open note, you know? And so then Jude shows Paul how he does it. Paul shows Jude how he does it. And I'm going like, okay, how much brain power is there in that room right there? And then Paul's just going like, well, it's too late for me to learn another way to play Eruption, so I'm just going to keep playing it.
And it's the same note. Just
it's the same note.
One's a fret. Yeah.
Yep. And yet I am on Team Jude with this one, even though Paul Gilbert can play any grouping of notes anyway, he can do anything, right? And so I'm positive he can play it and it sounds exactly like Eruption. I'm also positive that Jude's playing it correctly because the more study I do on Eddie Van Halen's playing, I realize that as brilliant as it is, he does go for the path of least resistance. He goes for the easiest thing. He goes for the same, like, you know, I learned the intro to Women in Love, right? Just one of my favorite guitar parts of all time. And I'm positive that most of the people who transcribe that are doing it wrong because they're making it too complicated. There's a lazier way of doing this. And I'm convinced that's the way Eddie Van Halen played this. And I don't know that. I can't prove it, but I'm lazy. And so I'm going to do it that way, you know? But I do think that's the Van Halen thing. Like, if there's an easier way to play an amazing part, do it that way. And it just gives you more time for fill in the blank, you know, whatever it is you want to do.
I'm sure this has happened to the majority of us in here, guitar players, that like you're learning something by ear or whatever, and you're like, damn, how's he doing that? And then you learn how to play it like that, and then you see like a video of them doing it, and you're like, dummy,
There's
the
an open
easier way
note.
was the right way, because you're thinking, well, these guys are amazing, so they're probably doing it harder than it has. But no, you know, it's just that's happened a number of times, you know.
Yep. And none of his stuff is easy, and yet some of it is far simpler than we make it out to be, you know. And again, you know, the notes are not even half the battle with this kind of stuff. Then it's about the time and the swing and the attack and the swagger, and nobody can get that like he did, you know. But, you know, for me, it's just a really fun exercise to try and get the notes. Get half of them if you can. Try and get the swagger. Get half of that if you can, and then move on. You know.
Yeah. So I'm sorry, I stepped out. Were you talking about a band that you were in years ago?
Yeah, not that many years ago. It was this sort of Sammy Hagar tribute band. It's called the Red Rocker Experience, and I'm no longer in that band.
I saw you guys.
Yeah, and so
wait, was it the Red Rocker?
Johnny yelling, "Play Eruption! Play!"
Yeah, that was not going to
play
happen.
the fretted part.
But yeah, play Eruption with no tapping.
No, it was like a Sammy tribute. So we did Montrose, we did Sammy solo stuff
with Randy.
Yeah, with Randy, exactly. Yep. So Randy would be the singer that I was referring to, who told me I should learn Eruption, and I love Randy, but no, that's not going to happen. Yes,
man, I saw Randy.
It was a blast to play in that band, and it was great because, you know, I'm a lifelong Ronnie Montrose fan, and so I love playing his stuff with that. The Sammy solo stuff was a blast, but the Van Hagar stuff was really challenging, and it was a real revelation to sort of dig deep into those songs, because it was easy for me to. I always liked it, you know, and I always saw the band every time they came to town. I had all the records, but it was very easy for me to think like, these songs aren't nearly as serious as the first 6 records and all this. And I still prefer the Dave stuff, right? And I think that is the truly game-changing stuff. But like, let's assume those first 6 records never got made, and this band just comes out of nowhere with 5150, and they make all those records. We'd be going like, oh my gosh, you got to hear this guitar player. This is amazing, right? And so it was really just, it was fun, and it was humbling, and it was enlightening to explore that part of the catalog, because it's awesome. You know, I don't think it's as deep or as challenging as the stuff that came before, but for what it is, it's incredible. And I mean, just again, the greatest rhythm guitarist of all time, greatest lead guitarist of all time, you know, and it's like crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was going to ask you for somebody, because most of the people, you know, I'm not going to try and guess your age right now, but for most of the people that I've either listened to or know that were around from the beginning of Van Halen, whether it's Van Halen 1 or Van Halen 2, whatever. Once Roth left and Sammy came in, they're like, nope, not Van Halen. Nope, don't want it. Nope, none of that. So it's cool to know that, like, how did you feel? Were you a Sammy Hagar? Obviously, you said you love the Montrose stuff, so obviously you were a Sammy fan. So when that whole thing happened, were you like, no? And then you heard it and you're like, okay, I could get into this. Or were you just like,
No, I never was against it. I thought it was sad, right? I wanted the Van Halen with Dave to go on forever, but when it was very clear that it wouldn't, and I wrote about this in they pulled me out of retirement to do the Eddie Van Halen tribute story for Guitar Player.
Alan mentioned that a few minutes ago. Yep.
Yeah, I talked about
that was Matt. That was him.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I talked about how we were fiercely loyal to Eddie. And so I was threatened by the Vi thing when Dave got him. And it's like, wait a minute, no, don't you come in here and play better than Eddie, you know? And so I was all freaked out. And so I really supported the Sammy stuff because, again, I was so fiercely loyal to him, but because I thought it was actually really good too. And at that point, again, I'm a self-confessed pop rocker. This was pop rock at its highest, right? With amazing guitar, and it was cool. And they were touring their brains out, so you could see them every year. And so it was still a really fun time, even though it was different. And seeing those first few tours with Sammy, it certainly wasn't the same as, think about the tours that I'd seen prior to that. With the last three were Fair Warning, Diver Down, in 1984. I mean, the most mind-boggling guitar shows I've ever seen in my life. The tours with Sammy were not like that. And but it was still great, and it was still awesome. It was still great to see him. But yeah, I see them as being very separate. Mm-hmm. And there was a time when it was a lot easier to dismiss the Sammy era stuff. But then I realized, like, no, that was short-sighted on my part. But, I wasn't 14, 15, 16 years old when these records came out, so they can never affect me the same way the first six records did, right? And so, and I think that's true with almost everyone. And I'm okay with that. It's fine. Like, my favorite musician of all time is Paul McCartney. And I love Paul, and I will support him and defend him. I just got in a fight on Facebook defending Paul McCartney, which is so absurd. Like, you need me to fight his battles, and I feel bad. So it's like the dude who I got in a fight with, probably not watching this, but if you are, sorry. But I think we can all agree where Paul's best work was. And then I will support him and say there was a ton of great work many years after the Beatles. And then there was everything else, and it's great. And yet he's still the guy that wrote Let It Be and Yesterday and The Long and Winding Road and Got to Get You Into My Life. And I'll stop, but I could go on 25 songs or something. And so for Van Halen, it was the same for me, that it's like, I'm super grateful I got to see the band like at the absolute height of their powers. And I absolutely did. And then I got to see a truckload of tours that were really good and just an amazing live band and a super fun party band. But I don't say that dismissively at all. I mean, they were great on those tours. And so that was all great. And so yeah, I guess as sort of a student of music, I just find it very interesting that very few bands can do what they did. Lose an iconic lead singer and then have success afterwards. Yeah. And so even just from that standpoint, it's really impressive. And Sammy's really cool about how he talks about this stuff, where he said, he says, I was platinum before, I was platinum after, but this was the high point, unquestionably. And so I just think that's a really cool way to put it. And I do think it's the high point of his career. But he did good stuff before, for sure. And I do like that. And, the first Montrose record obviously was a big influence on Van Halen. So, like, it's sort of weird. Like the family tree of the Sammy Hagar, Ted Templeman, Van Halen kind of thing is pretty fascinating when you think about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff like over the years that just kind of made Like you couldn't make any of that up.
Right. No, it's crazy. It's crazy. And just again, really cool and exciting time in the music business, because none of this stuff would be possible today.
No.
So we're the lucky ones. We get to reap all these benefits and study all this stuff, and we have all the music. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, that's true.
We're getting guesses on your age. If that's true,
No.
you look good for your age, Matt.
What's the guess? I can't see it because I don't have my reading glasses on. Say
65.
what?
Keith Campbell guessed 65.
65. Wow. No, thank you for that. But no, not quite 65. But no, I am.
Say, if you're 65, what are you eating and drinking? Because I need to.
God, I don't take that as a compliment exactly, but so no, there's no shame in my game. I'm 56 years old, born in 1965, and that was just in time to see Van Halen at the Marin Betts Auditorium in 1979. So I'll take it. But that's kind of 54, 55. Thank you, Santa Cruz. That's awesome. That's great. No, it's it's funny. I used to, it's such a youth-driven industry, and back when I was trying to play full-time and all this, and you think you need to be young, and we're all aware that like the Van Halen guys lied about their age, right? They wanted to be younger. Everybody wants to be younger. And then I realized no, I saw Randy Rhoads, you can't say that unless you're a man of a certain age. So I have no regrets. I actually do wish I was in slightly better shape than I am right now, but here I am.
I think now it's a kind of a badge of honor that you say that you were around when that stuff, because nowadays the stuff that the kids are listening to is I hate saying, well, no, I don't hate saying it. It's garbage. It really is. And say all you want about somebody's age, but we got to live through the golden age of hard rock and heavy metal.
That's right. Yep. No, we totally did. And, I say this in that Van Halen tribute story that we got the Beatles for 7 years. We got Hendrix for less than that. We got Led Zeppelin for 10 years. We got Van Halen for pushing 40 years. I mean, how lucky are we? And the guy was doing great work up until just about the very end. That's amazing. And so we really are lucky, and I get that. And as much as I love all those other bands, we didn't get them for very long. And so yeah, the idea that we were born at this time, I'm fine with that. And I do try and find pleasure in what new music I can, and some of it I do, but it's never going to be the same. And again, I mentioned Alex Lifeson before, and I interviewed him when they were doing R30, and I said as a joke, "Hey, can we talk about R40 in 10 years?" And he laughed and he said, "I hope so." And then sure enough, they did R40. And I said, "Do you hear any bands nowadays that you think are going to be around 40 years from now?" And he goes, "Oh, I don't think the industry's going to let them." And he talked about, Rush's abysmal failures for their first 3 records. And he goes, "What bands can afford to fail for 3 records?"
If that was anywhere in the past X amount of years, you're dropped.
You're done.
Yeah, you're done.
And so again, it's as brutal as the music business is, it did give us a lot of great bands back then, and they supported them. Van Halen hit pretty much right out of the chute, but not everybody did. And again, you think about these amazing bands like Rush and Aerosmith and whatever, and they didn't get hits right away, and they let them survive. And AC/DC, that was a slow burn for that band. And where would we be if they didn't give us AC/DC? So yeah, I'm grateful. I am.
Yeah, it is great to and I was talking to this a couple of years ago now, but I was because you kind of mentioned or hinted at this before. Jeff Hausman from the Van Halen News Desk and Van Halen Store, he was mentioning about, he's like, hey, when you compare, a band's newer material to their older stuff that when you heard it for the first time, you were a kid, you were in junior high, high school, partying with your friends. When you were listening to that music, those are the memories that come back. Nowadays, you listen to a new album from a band and real life has set in. You know, you got bills. You're not like listening. You're not sitting in your bedroom by yourself or partying with your friends in the woods or at the beach listening to this stuff. You're like sitting in your house, you know, like folding laundry or working or whatever. It's a totally different experience.
It's on this.
Yeah.
Possibly. Yeah.
No,
I never
totally
thought of
right.
it like that. And I was like, oh my God, you're right. You know?
No, we would stare at the albums. We would read the liner notes. You wait in line at a record store to buy the new record. And when I was learning how to play guitar, it was about picking up the needle and putting it back down to try and learn stuff. And on my favorite records, and they would be like Van Halen records and UFO records and Montrose records, you could tell by looking where the guitar solos were on every song because the grooves were deeper on that, because I had done that a million times.
It's like, you know, you let the record play and all of a sudden it gets to the solo section and it's kind of like, you know, the fidelity kind of deteriorates. It's almost like your favorite porno VHS. All of a sudden it gets to that one spot and like the tracking starts to set in.
There you go. I never thought about it that way, but I suspect you're exactly right.
Leave it up to me to, you know.
I've never done that.
No.
But it was just a very different time, obviously, right? There wasn't, you know, we had 3 channels on our TV. You couldn't, if you didn't see a band when they came around to town, you didn't see them, you know, maybe on Don Kirshner's rock concert or something, you know, or like American Bandstand. I mean, God, now I do sound old. Now I sound 65 years old.
What's that?
There was no MTV. There was no anything like this. And there was a real mystique, and especially about Van Halen, there weren't that many pictures, even if you were getting the magazines, you know, like Cream magazine or Rolling Stone or whatever. You didn't see that much Van Halen coverage. So they were super mysterious. Like, you know, we're not even really sure what these guys look like, you know, and it was crazy. And now it's obviously very different. Everybody has access to everybody at all times, and there's not that same mystique with it. So, yeah, I don't think there's any way anything now can affect us the same way it did when we were that young, or when the world was kind of that innocent or crude or whatever it was, you know, again, you know, just a few TV channels, you had no internet, no anything. God, I do sound old, you know, and my rheumatism is acting up here.
See, it's crazy because if somebody younger that doesn't remember life without the internet, if they're hearing what you're saying right now, it probably sounds like a nightmare.
Oh yeah, no, I sound like I just, yeah, exactly. And
it's a whole different thing, you know, skipping school when on a Tuesday because your favorite band's album came out, you know, like when Balance came out, I was in, trying to think what grade. So 95, I was in 11th grade, I think it was. And I remember skipping school to get,
I wasn't even in a grade,
that, you know? And it's just like,
my rheumatism is acting up here, you know? Oh my gosh. Well, it's totally true. And even though I fully expect that everybody is dropping everything to watch this podcast live right now, that's very rare in this day and age. And back then, like if you wanted to see a TV show, everybody in the whole country watched the exact same TV show at the exact same time. That's what you had to do. And if you missed it, you missed it forever.
That's
right?
our goal here.
And so, well, yeah, exactly. We want to be the happy days of the internet. And again, there we go, old guy talking. But and so it's very interesting. And like even, you know, with MTV, when there was a new video, like I remember when they're going to debut the Jump video, people dropped everything to watch that. You had to watch it. And there was that incredible fear of missing out with it, because if everybody else saw it, you didn't, then, you know, that's a problem. Then, of course, we've seen that video 1.7 billion times since then. So it's like, hey, you could probably catch it some other time, you know. But no, you had to do it right then. And it's I don't know, all this stuff just meant a lot back then. And there was something really cool about that. You know, there was like this really cool, just sort of community about it all. And, you know, for me, Van Halen was absolutely at the forefront of that, like the center of it. You know, we loved all the bands that we loved, but now nothing was bigger than a new Van Halen record or a Van Halen show coming to town, for sure.
No, that was, I mean, yeah, that was the most special. And then Keith Campbell, I don't know if you can see the screen. Keith Campbell, he's asking, what year is the Futura?
He says Futura, but then I believe he's referring to my Dean Cadillac that's back there. Always wanted one because I saw Rick Ocasek playing one in the Cars. When I was binging on Van Halen, I was a huge Cars fan as well. And that was the very first guitar I put an EverTune bridge on. So I don't know if you can see it, but it's got an EverTune bridge. Whoa, look at that.
Right there.
Hey, now.
I actually do way better with like the deep focus on me. I don't know. I'm not sure I like the way I look right now. Anyway, that yeah, so that's a Dean Cadillac and not a vintage one at all. That's one from, I don't know, the year 2010 or something like that.
Yeah, so, is that your main guitar? Because every time I would see you, you'd be playing that guitar.
I played that guitar quite a lot, and it became my absolute go-to guitar when I put the EverTune bridge on it, right? So plug alert here. At Guitar Player, I got to review every piece of gear in the world. And even though I reviewed a lot of really, really cool pieces of gear, there was very little that I saw that I thought was truly revolutionary. And when I reviewed the EverTune bridge, I instantly knew this is something that is game-changing and groundbreaking. And so I instantly wanted to get one, and that's the guitar I put it on. And so that guitar was just an okay guitar before. It looked super sexy, but didn't sound that great. It wasn't an expensive guitar or anything. And so Gary Brower put the EverTune on it and then swapped the pickups out. And so I've got Duncan Alnico 2s in there now. And it instantly became my main guitar. And it's incredible. And so again, you know, full disclosure, I work for EverTune now. But the reason I work for EverTune now is because when I tried that bridge for the first time, I was so blown away. I instantly contacted the company and said, I want to work with you guys. And I'm the guy. I'm a tuning weirdo. I'm an intonation dork. And I can get the message out on this. So it took us a little while, but we did it. And so now I'm working with them. And then it's funny, I have this guitar here, a PRS that also has an EverTune bridge on it. And I just played a gig in direct sunlight with this guitar. I didn't tune it before that gig. I haven't tuned it since then. I have not tuned this guitar in a month. And this guitar is perfectly in tune. I haven't tuned it in a month, and I'm not kidding. Okay. And so, so anyway, yeah, that very clunky transition into an EverTune infomercial. I apologize.
But Johnny, that was the perfect segue because, you know,
I had said in the promo we would talk about EverTunes, but really quickly though, when did you put the EverTune on that Deane? Because I have a feeling, I have a memory of you showing me that guitar and showing me how that bridge worked.
I put it on there probably in like 2013, 2014 or something. And so it wasn't right after I did the review. The bridge has been out since, you know, like 2011 or something. I think the review is in 2012. And then even though I desperately wanted one, I dragged my feet a little bit about the install. And so I'm guessing that install would have been like 2013 or 2014.
Okay. I don't know if we were doing those jams at that time, but I mean, because I remember seeing you play that guitar because I used to like I had a little, before my iPhone, I had a little camera, and when we would do those jams, I would have a camera set up. So I would film some of the jams. And so I
brought this guitar on those jams because, as you remember, a lot of those jams were really out of tune. Like people, they would not take tuning seriously at all.
Well, they're at Soundwave.
I remember being on stage and I'm going like, it's not me. It's not me. I guarantee you this guitar is in tune.
It's Johnny.
Oh my gosh. So, Yeah, and so I definitely had it back in those days.
I have a feeling because I remember seeing you play that guitar. I have a memory of you showing me how the bridge worked, and
Yeah.
either it was at a jam or maybe it was at a NAMM show. Because I remember Gary and walking around and going to booths, and I know I've seen you at NAMM.
Yep.
Like
No, we've
twice.
certainly hung out at NAMM. I don't think that's where it was. I think it was at Soundwave, and yeah, and you know, again, I am everywhere I go with one of these guitars, I'm always telling people like, here it is, you know, purely mechanical, springs and levers. You know, I've got my little elevator speech on it, but it really is. It's the most amazing guitar thing that I've seen since the Floyd Rose. And I don't say that because I work for them. I work for them because I think it's the most amazing thing I've seen since the Floyd Rose. And it's crazy. And, you know, again, we have more and more manufacturers that are getting on board. So Ibanez has factory models, ESP has factory models, BC Rich, Deane, Epiphone. Like a lot of manufacturers are getting on board. And then great artists, you know, like Steve Stevens is a big EverTune believer. And a lot of the metal guys, and so Matt Heafy from Trivium.
Wait, stop there. Stop there,
Whoa.
because we had Josh Wilbur, the producer who's worked with Trivium the last X amount of albums. He was on the metal show that we do last week, and he was mentioning, we talked about EverTune for a little while, and he said Matt's guitars are now strictly EverTune, and it's great when I'm recording them. We don't have a tune. It's the coolest thing. And I guess Josh, I'm assuming you guys sent him a couple because he has a 6, a 7, and an 8 in his studio that all have EverTunes on them as well. And you know, it was pretty cool now that we have you on the following week, literally.
This is a coincidence, you guys.
Yeah. This is awesome. And I love it. No, it's amazing. And again, a lot of people use them strictly in the studio. And that's fine. You know, guitarists know what they need with their tools. And I think that's all good. I'm amazed more people don't use them live because I'm not kidding. I played in direct sunlight. My guitar never went out of tune. And I brought another guitar, and I brought a Floyd guitar. I brought that Van Halen guitar that's behind me there. It's got a Floyd on it. It's blocked against the deck, you know, in Van Halen fashion. Very stable tuning guitar. I had to retune it constantly because the sun was beating down on it, right? EverTune guitar never went out of tune. And so in the studio, though, it is amazing because we got a bridge to Guthrie Govan, and I'm a huge fan of that guy, and I just think he's just a genius player. Yeah. And he got it, and he told me straight away, I don't think I like it. And he goes, it stays in tune. That's all great. I love the intonation, but I don't like what it did for the resonance of the guitar. You know, it doesn't seem like the sustain is the same. And I'm going, no, it's probably not. You know, it does change things. You know, we're introducing a lot of moving parts with this. And I said, but here's what I'm going to say. Just have fun with it. Let it play to its strengths. Use it if you want. Don't if you don't, but let it play to its strengths. I get an email from him 2 weeks later, and he goes, okay, I haven't played any other guitar except for the EverTune guitar. And he goes, not because it's my favorite, but because I've gotten addicted to my newfound ability of getting a keeper take instantly without having to worry about tuning up. And he goes, and I can put things in loop record mode, do 10 solos, never think about tuning up in between, right? And that's what I found with this. And because it does correct for intonation as you go up the neck, I can do all my sort of crazy arpeggiated chords way up the neck. They're all in tune, right? And so it intonates like a piano. And I will do 1 track, 2 tracks, 3 tracks, overdub, 5 different tracks. They all line up perfectly. And what I tell people is I love all my guitars. I generally speaking record with my EverTune guitars because it's just, I'm lazy, you know, it's just too easy. It just works too well. So it's an amazing thing. And I do think we're going to take over the world. I do.
Well, I could see obviously with the recording thing, you know, usually in heavy metal stuff, I don't want to say, well, yeah, usually the same guitarist is going to cut, you know, the right and the left rhythm tracks just because tighter, one person playing both parts can be tighter. But for bands that you have both guitarists playing the rhythm guitars, you know, even if the same person tunes both guitars, somebody frets a little harder.
You're right.
There's all these different variables, but between guitar players where it's never going to be perfectly in tune with each other. So I could totally see where the EverTune bridge would come in handy in that sense as well, you know?
Yep. No, there are a lot of producers that really swear by it. And, you know, talking about Rush, I met that producer, Nick Raskulinix, when he produced a Rush record many years ago. And he now is a big EverTune guy and just loves it. And he uses it on every record he makes and just thinks like, you know, on the Alice in Chains record, I think all the rhythms were done on EverTune guitars, but Jerry didn't like it at all for his solo thing. And he wanted his whammy and all this. And it's like, all right, fine. You know, he's Jerry Cantrell and I'm not. And so he should do exactly what he wants to do. But Nick uses EverTune guitars on a lot of records. And like, we just did some installs for the guys in Skid Row. Nick is producing their record and they just say like, man, the way these guitars are lining up is amazing. You know, it's like, it's crazy. And if you want to go back a month later and you punch in or fix tracks or do overdubs or whatever, it's like, yeah, it's all going to be there. And so, yeah, so for me, it's super exciting because I've always struggled with intonation, you know, and like, I don't know if you can see it, but like over that shoulder, this shoulder, there's a guitar with the True Temperament neck on it, right? And so, sorry, I'm doing the opposite of everything I should do, but that's got the squiggly frets on it, right? And so I'm that guy. I did the Buzz Featon tuning system. I was an early adopter of Floyd Rose. I got the squiggly frets. I'm always chasing after some means of making guitars sound just a little bit sweeter, a little bit more in tune. EverTune does that better than anything I've tried. And I've tried everything, you know, and you know, Gary Brower is my tech. Gary's a big EverTune guy, and he just goes, I've tried everything. This solves more problems than anything else that I've done. So, so yeah, so it's super exciting work. I'm going to go work the Aftershock Festival tomorrow, and there are like a bunch of EverTune people on that bill. And so it's cool. And, you know, ESP Guitars has a booth there, and so they're a huge supporter of EverTune. And so, so yeah, it's just, for me, it's a great job because I really get to do a lot of the same stuff that I did at Guitar Player, meaning I get to talk to artists, I get to teach, I get to play a little bit, I get to create content, I get to conduct interviews, I'm in on product development, which is something I never got to do at Guitar Player, but I've done a lot over the course of my career. And it's super fun, it's super exciting. And again, when people try EverTune under the proper circumstances, most people are blown away. Not everybody's going to dig it, and I get that, right? And a lot of people, they like the way their guitars work just fine. They like guitars from the late 50s to mid 60s, and I'm fine with that too. And I don't recommend routing them to put an EverTune bridge on them. But like a metaphor I like to use, and I don't know if it works, and I hope it does, but it's like I see classic guitars and I love them. And for me, they're like a 57 Chevy, right? They're classic and it's iconic and there's nothing else like it. And it's amazing. And it's like there's so much vibe. It's awesome. But they belch a little exhaust and they don't always start when you need them to. And you might not want to get stuck in traffic with your 57 Chevy. And then on the other hand, you've got a brand new Lexus. And it's got an automatic transmission. And it just works. Well, they're very different, right? And I'm not going to say one is better than the other. But if I'm going to be stuck in traffic in the Bay Area, I kind of want my new Lexus. You know, I'm not going to drag out the 57 Chevy. And I have neither of those vehicles, by the way. But it's, for me, again, I love all my guitars, you know, but this is a tool that is just incredibly valuable, I think. And yeah, maybe not for everybody, but I really hope people just try it for themselves and make up their own mind, you know, because there's still a lot of misinformation about it. People think it's auto-tune, you know, they think it's digital. They think it's the robot tuners or something. And it's none of those things.
Right.
And
well, up until speaking with Josh about it last week, I really had I'm going to be honest. I really had no intention or want to try one. But after, and I do recording as well. And I'm just thinking like, crap, how many times, whether doubling or quad track, whatever, rhythm guitars or even anything, bass. And I'm like, how many times have we done it? Like one whole pass is done. And then you go to record the next pass or whatever. And you're like, crap, which one's out of tune? And you got to figure, oh shit, now there's a whole part of the last, and then you're going back and forth. And this can, totally, especially if like rhythm guitar is like, that sounds,
it's amazing. And I've talked to so many producers that they just told me it has absolutely streamlined their workflow. And, a lot of them, they're doing metal records or they're doing that sort of, pop punk kind of thing. And they are quadruple tracking things. And in the old days, they would physically tune every single chord, right? And they would punch that chord. They'd go to the next chord. They would tune
Lang
that
stuff
one.
right there, yeah.
And Mutt Lange, and it goes, way beyond Mutt Lange, and like that guy Garth, who I've never met, but I guess he was a big chord punch guy. And this takes away the need for any of that stuff. And it's amazing. And I know like there's this really great Nashville player named Jerry McPherson who he plays with like Faith Hill and Tim McGraw, and he is a big EverTune guy. And he told me, he goes, I don't use it for everything, but I almost always use it for the bed track, because then I know I've just got that solid track. And then he goes, then if I want to do special parts or sparkly things on top of it, I can do that. And I can use my other guitars for that. And Steven said he's found that singers really like singing on top of EverTune tracks because it's just so freaking in tune.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. It's like, and this is not for everyone, but one of the things that it does, because the system works by maintaining constant tension on the strings at all time. And so if you lean into that low E string, the pitch of the attack doesn't change. It's exactly the same as the pitch of the sustain of that note, right? With none of that pitch jump that happens when you hit. Yeah, exactly. Which is kind of a cool sound, right? That's a sound we know from Black Sabbath records and Rage Against the Machine records and all that. Yep. I like that sound. I'm finding now a lot of modern producers don't want that sound at all. And this just takes all that out. It's like, no, it's hit it as hard as you want. That note is going to be the same every single time.
So one other question for you about the EverTune. And you might not be able to talk about it or answer this, but are you guys working on some kind of way to do a floating EverTune?
Yes, in fact, we are. And it's interesting. No, I'll tell you straight out, because I don't think I'm giving anything away. I hope not. But no, we're working on the bass bridge right now. And that's a really, really amazing design. But the cool thing about it is that we're going to have a bass bridge before too terribly long, I hope. Then what's also cool is everything we've learned. And when I say I do not have engineering smarts at all. I'm just a guitar dude. But my boss is so freaking smart. And everything he's learning about the development of the bass bridge is going to inform the next guitar products. And so those will be an acoustic bridge, a whammy, okay? And I'm going to have to see it to believe it. But I believe my boss when he tells me, like, no, we can do it. We can do it. And then he goes off on some physics thing, and I'm going like, okay, so you're going to land a spaceship in my front yard. I'm a caveman with this stuff. But I do understand it very, very well from a guitar dude standpoint, right? And so the only way I can describe it to you is with this bridge, it's like I'll try and get this on here. Every saddle is almost like a little B bender on its own. So like if I hit these top two strings,
oh yeah,
right, then I can bend the B string, and the E string doesn't budge at all. I mean, not at all. And that's so like cool. If I'm really clever, I can kind of do like pedal steel stuff.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Right?
That's nice.
And so That actually was pretty good.
Yeah.
Matt Blackett, everybody.
If I could, yeah, thank you. Good night. If I can do that, then I'm assuming what you need to, all I'm doing is moving that saddle. I'm rocking that saddle. And like the way I have my guitar set, I can only increase the pitch, but it's possible to set it so if I push on the front end of the saddle, I could make the pitch go lower, right? And if I can do that and the other ones don't budge, maybe there's a way where we could move them all and like they all just want to come back to their happy place. And like, and again, I'm going to need to see it to believe it, but I do think it's possible. And the main question I have is there going to be a hiccup when you go through the 0 point of it, right? Because that's why I don't like those trem stopper things or the, you know, any of those things. I don't have those on any of my guitars. They're either blocked like my Van Halen guitar or they're fully floating, and then I deal with all the hassles of a fully floating whammy. I don't know how we're going to address all those kind of issues, but again, that's why I'm not a physicist, right? I'm not an engineer. And so I'm going to leave it to the experts, but I will be there on the guitar dude level to just say like, dude, no, you know, that's about as technical as I get on this. But
because I'm thinking the whole EverTune thing, right? Like how cool would it be, especially for us Van Halen guys, to have an EverTune bridge that floats and keeps the notes like a Transcribing would.
Right.
That's
no. Well, and it's again not exactly like a Transcribing because, you know, again, they're going to go out of tune the same way a normal whammy would. So it's not like you're bending the whole chord down per se. But yeah, if it could truly float, not go out of tune like a Floyd, right? But actually even more than a Floyd, and then intonate all the way up the neck because of the constant tension it's keeping on the strings, it's going to be incredibly exciting. And so we'll see. That's in the future, you know, but it will happen. Absolutely. It will
I'd love to test one when the time comes.
Yeah. Okay. You know, let's stay in contact about it.
Because I don't own a guitar without a trem on it. All my guitars, I have a bunch in the back room back there that like I almost don't want to own a guitar that doesn't have some kind of trem on it, you know?
Right.
So.
Yep. No, I know. And it's truly the only thing I miss on my EverTune guitars, even though I'm more than happy to, you know, make up for that. And, you know, yeah, I have a Les Paul on the wall there, no trem on that one. And I love a good telly. And so it's not like I'm addicted to the whammy bar, but yeah, if I could design a perfect guitar, it would have a floating whammy that doesn't go out of tune, that does all the other stuff I need it to do. So, you know, we'll see. But yeah, a guy can dream, but if I can believe what my boss tells me, it's in your future.
Yeah.
Nice.
I'm talking about.
With deafening applause. I love it.
Man. Well, hey, can I show this really quickly? I found a picture of us. Is it okay if I show this?
Yeah, I guess. Why, do I look terrible or something?
No. And there's somebody else in the picture too, which is Brian Spalding in the audience?
I don't think so. Boner Jams is though.
This might have been the last time we saw each other.
Oh yeah. You know what? I bet it was. Look at us, and that is indeed at Jason's house. That's a numbers guitar behind us.
Matt, are you like 6'8"?
This is so funny. That's what everybody is asking me right now, and I truly am not. But I just posted a picture of me and Eddie Van Halen, and I swear I look like Shaquille O'Neal. I look like I'm 7'2" and 300 pounds in it. And so, no, you know, I'm 6'2". I won't tell you what I weigh. But no, I must have been on my tiptoes or something because it's like.
No, I think Johnny was sitting down. I think that's what that was.
Johnny and that could
be sitting, right?
No.
Oh yeah, there's the Van Halen picture, and so look at me hulking over him. You know.
No, Matt's tall, man.
Not that tall. I mean, come on.
Well, I'm 3'2".
Well, I got to ask Johnny, unless you have anything else to kind of bookend the EverTune / Van Halen chat.
I just have to use the restroom, if that's okay.
All right, well, go use the restroom. I'm going to ask Matt about what was it about Jeff Beck that just made you kind of, because I listened to the interview when you talk about, you know, the times you met Jeff Beck, and it was just like he had something about him that just made you feel, I don't want to use the word uncomfortable, but just something that kind of like made you a little, you know, nervous or whatever. What did you ever figure out what it was about? An aura, something?
It's something like that. And I'm not positive I understand it, but I know it's real. And it was beyond nervous. It was weird what happened. And I remember the first time I met him, it was my birthday, 1999. So April 18th, 1999, went to see him play at the Paramount Theater in Oakland. And again, you know, I talked about all the shows that I've seen, right? All the guitarists that I've seen. I'd never seen Jeff Beck there. I was there with my brother, and he's seen all these shows with me, right? Beck came out. They're playing the first tune. All he's doing is hitting an A chord. And I freaked out, and I said, this is the best guitar playing I've ever heard. And my brother goes, this is the best guitar playing I've ever heard. And he was doing nothing, right? And that's how powerful it was. The show absolutely captivated me. I'd never seen anything like it. And again, you know, it's like Eddie Van Halen's my favorite guy, and I love Brian May, and I love all the guitarists that I love. The most powerful thing that I ever saw was this night watching Jeff Beck. And so we watched the show. I'm just completely blown away. I get to meet him afterwards, and I literally could not speak. And I'm just standing there like an idiot. And so he's kind of looking at me, right? And he really doesn't like people to like be starstruck by him, I don't think he likes guitar geeks and people who nerd out on his playing and all this. And that's absolutely what I'm doing, right? and so I said, I finally just realized I have to say something, right? And I'm, you know, having like one of those Chris Farley moments. And I said, it's my birthday. And he just goes like, well, happy birthday. And that's it, you know, and he signs a magazine for me, and I leave. And so then,
and I bet as you were walking out, you're like, what the fuck?
I mean, seriously, like, how did that happen, right? How did that happen? Because like, I've been very fortunate to meet a lot of my heroes, and most of the time, like almost every time, I can sort of keep it together. Even if I'm like, you know, kind of talky or nervous or whatever, I know enough to take a deep breath and deal, right? Couldn't do that at all with him. And so then it comes time that we're going to do a Jeff Beck story for a guitar player. And I was really new at guitar player at the time, right? So there were people who absolutely outranked me. And in the meeting, I just said, okay, I'm just going to throw this out there, but I want it. I want to do the story. And it just shows you how cool my coworkers were at the time, where they just said like, okay, do it. And you know, nobody was territorial about this or anything like that. You know, I was probably the most territorial guy. And so then I'm supposed to meet him in LA, and then they say, no, we can't do it in LA. And he's flying back to London. And so I finagle everything I can possibly finagle, and I get to go interview him in London, right? And so I go to the studio there, and to prepare for it, I was talking to Jennifer Batten, right? And she had the gig in his band at the time. And I had known Jennifer for a while, and we had a pretty good groove. And so I confessed to her, like, you know, look, it's kind of embarrassing, but I kind of freaked out when I met him, you know, and like, I don't want that to happen. And she says, I've talked to a lot of heavy cats who said the exact same thing happened to them. Like, he does that to people, right? And so on the one hand, it made me feel a lot better. On the other hand, I'm going like, okay, I'm doomed, right? I'm doomed with this. And so I'm just thinking like, no. Just prepare. You're a professional. You can handle this. And so I do. And then I show up super early at the studio, and there's a pub next door. And so I go there and I throw down a couple pints, right? And just to take the edge off, like, okay, I need to mellow out. And so then, you know, it's 10 minutes before the interview or something. I'm walking back, and so then I'm there kind of stranded in the middle of the sidewalk, and this Corvette comes screeching up. And I'm blocking the way, and I look, and there's a very pissed off Jeff Beck behind the wheel of that car, right? And I'm the guy that's preventing him from getting into the parking lot. I'm going like, okay, there we go. And so he goes in. I'm hoping he doesn't recognize me, and I'm sure he didn't, just because I don't think he really thinks about that kind of stuff. And so I get in there, and I walk up to the little cafe where he's sitting, and there's him, and there's the producer, and they just tell me, like, oh, take a seat, right? And it's right next to him. And I sit down, and it happened again. And so
my birthday.
Seriously, like, and again, he says, how was the flight? And I'm just sitting there, right? And then I'm telling myself, like, say something. It's getting awkward. This is getting really, say anything. You need to say something. And I said, it was cramped. And then I'm going like, oh, idiot, And so there's an awkward, 5-10 minutes that we sit at that table. Then we go to do the thing, but the photo shoot is going to happen before. And so that gave me enough time to kind of mellow out. And it was awesome just watching, because he's got a guitar and he's playing the whole time during the photo shoot, right? So it was amazing to just hear him noodle on an unplugged guitar. And I was able to crack a couple jokes. I got a laugh out of him, and I'm going like, okay, so we're good. We're good. And then at the end of the photo shoot, the photographer, a very kind gesture, goes like, hey, Matt, why don't you take a seat next to Jeff, and I'll get a picture of the two of you. And so I do, and I freak out all over again, right? And so then he's got his guitar there, and I'm just going like, all right, here's your one chance. And I said, can I check out your guitar? And he doesn't care. And he goes like, sure. And he hands me the guitar. I hit one like open low E, and then I handed it back to him. I couldn't play at all. And so we did the interview, and it was fine. It was actually a really good interview. And I'm very proud of the story, and it was great. And he was cool, and he was humble, and like, he was amazing. He was exactly how you would want the guy to be. And it was great. It was one of the greatest times of that entire part of my career. And we're leaving the studio, and I told him this thing. I had a quote from George Martin about him. And so I told him, like, would you care to hear what Sir George Martin had to say about your playing? And he's going like, I suppose, and of course it's a glowing quote. So we're leaving the studio, and he said, I can't get over those quotes you read me, mate, especially from George, because he's not given to flowery praise where it's not warranted. And I said, and he's made a couple good records in his career. And he goes, yes, he fucking well has. And so I'm sitting here going like, okay, this is the greatest day ever, right? This is amazing. And so we're leaving, and he's fumbling with all his stuff. And I just said, can I lend a hand? And he goes, oh, okay. And he hands me his guitar. And so I'm carrying Jeff Beck's guitar case. I'm just walking out of the studio with him, and I'm going, okay, this is the greatest thing ever, and the greatest day. And it was super cool. And like, he said to me as I'm walking to the car, he's going, will you join us for dinner? And I was about to say, I would love to. And his manager goes, no, Matt really needs to be getting along now. And I said, see you later, and so it's cool. And so, I've met him a couple times since then. I certainly do not claim to know the guy at all. He didn't remember me, when I saw him the next couple times, and that's fine, nor should he. And I was at least a little bit cooler, I think, the next two times. I hope I was, But so that's a very long-winded answer to your question. I don't know what it is about him, but yeah, I've only seen this a few times in my career, that some people just have this incredible star power, and most people don't. And he was one of them for sure. And again, I'm a huge fan of Brian May. I managed to keep it together when I have been able to hang out with Brian May, and maybe a little dorky, but certainly nothing like this. Not like I wasn't able to talk. Yeah. And that's literally what happened when I met Jeff Beck. And again, I have no explanation other than to say, it would be embarrassing, except for the embarrassment is always couched in a story of like, yeah, and I kind of got to hang out with Jeff Beck, right? So you take the good with the
funny
bad.
anyway. It's
Cool.
funny just in general, like when you have those moments of like, oh my God, I can't believe I just said that. He thinks I'm an idiot, you know?
God, yeah. And no, it was all that and more. And you know, the one meeting I had with Eddie Van Halen, I had learned from the Jeff Beck thing, right? And so I didn't spaz the same way, but I'm sure I still was nervous, and I'm sure I was geeky, and like I remember calling my brother right afterwards, and I'm going like, man, I just met Eddie Van Halen, and I said he was saying some kind of crazy stuff, and he goes, what did you say when he said that? And I said, what do you think I said? I agreed with every word that came out of his mouth. He's Eddie Van Halen. And so it didn't matter what he said. I just go like, yeah, I know, right? You know, and it was cool. It was, you know, again, that was brief. The time of that photo that you just showed, Johnny, was brief. But then, yeah, I was working at Seymour Duncan at the time, and it was the next day, and he just was sort of walking around the office, you know, it was crazy. And he came up to my desk and he goes, this is where you work? And I said, Ed, this is where the magic happens. And where I got the balls to say that, I have no idea, but he laughed. And then I had a Phase 90 on my desk, and he goes like, oh, you use that too? You know, thinking, okay, that's the coolest thing ever. And I said, yeah. And I said, but only with the script switch engaged. And he goes, me too. I'm going like, okay, so I'm not sure how this works, but I'm pretty sure Eddie Van Halen's getting tone tips from me now, you know? Just awesome. Yeah.
You have that picture, right? That this one right here.
That one. Yeah. He signed that at my desk that very day. So
I
the
remember
exact same conversation.
I think you told me that story one time years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny because I know the guy that took this picture.
Yeah, that's what you said. That's amazing.
Photographer.
Yep. Yep. And so I don't know if you can see it on the screen, but he signed it right on the fingerboard of that.
Yeah.
And yeah, there you go. Look at that.
Too cool, man.
Wow.
It was amazing, you know, and he was just so cool with it. And I said, do you mind signing this photo of this young man here? And he just signed it, you know? And yeah, so it's crazy, you know, it's crazy to think about it. And I just wrote about this, but like my appreciation for his music is even deeper now than before he passed away. And I did not think that was possible, you know? So is that the same? Is it true with you guys too? Like, have you really like found sort of another level of appreciation for his music?
Johnny's talked about this before. Yeah.
I've mentioned this. After Edward passed, kind of the like what we were talking about earlier, you know, Jay and we got into Van Halen during the Hagar years, like 5150, right?
No,
didn't we? Or I did at least.
You did.
Okay,
Johnny definitely did. Dave Lopez will tell you that. Yeah,
I get made fun of nonstop from Dave Lopez because of that. But yeah, my first Van Halen album was 5150. Okay, so after Edward passed, that album just had a whole different meaning to me. Like, especially all the keyboard tunes. There's something about Edward's keyboard playing that really has a deeper meaning to me now. And I hope in the future, you know, if anything does get released in the future, any newer things, I would like to hear more of the piano stuff from him.
Yeah. I would say 5150 as well for some reason. And I think it's because that album had, you know, and we talked about earlier, like the difference between like, you know, the Hagar and the Roth. Like, and I was talking to Cameron Brown about this yesterday. It's funny. The Roth era has more, you know, it makes you feel like tough, you know, like an attitude and, you know, you can take on the world type of thing and F you type of, but the Sammy era, to me at least, it's more of a positive, like uplifting, you know, like just, yeah, like you feel positive about stuff, you know? And when like a song like Dreams came on, and that song even hit me prior, obviously, but it just, when I hear it now, ever since, last year, it just does something more. I get goosebumps, certain parts I get a little choked up still. And it's just, it does something to you now. It is different. It definitely has more of an effect. And you listen to it in a different way now than I did before.
Yeah, that's kind of what I meant too.
Yeah.
It's just different. There's more to it now.
Yeah, I agree. And I am revisiting a lot of that stuff. I gave myself permission to learn some tunes that I kind of never would have done before, like I'm the One or Girl Gone Bad and Drop Dead Legs. And I'm just amazed at just how great it is. And I knew how great it was, right? And so it's so funny to say this. It's almost like I'm saying to you guys, hey, if you want to hear some really good guitar playing, you should check out this guy, Eddie Van Halen, right? But it's almost like that. It's almost, I don't know, for me, that is just the true gift of this, is to realize like, wow, it's just way better than I even knew. And I thought it was the greatest stuff ever, right? So it's like, how cool is that? And and then, you guys have probably seen it, but there's just an amazing article by this writer, Chuck Klosterman, where he ranks all the Van Halen tunes, like every single one of them, right? And he has deep knowledge of the Van Halen catalog. And he's also just a brilliant writer. And he's also really freaking funny, right? So it's funny. But anything where he's sort of making fun of this stuff still just shows such a deep knowledge of it that I'm willing to give him a pass and then some. But if you can find this article, there's a link for every tune in there, right? And so for me, I had all the records, but some of them I didn't really spin all that much, right? Some of the samey ones I haven't listened to in years. Van Halen 3, I think I might have listened to once and then not again, kind of.
First CD I ever returned was Van Halen 3.
Well, and so I get it, and I take no pleasure in saying that, but it's like, no, that's what I did. I saw that tour and was actually really happy to see them, and I don't think they played a single song off that record, which is fine by me. But he talks about these tunes, and I'm going, all right, and there's a link right there. And I'm going, okay, so I know I heard this song because I bought the record when it came out. I bought it the day it came out, I think. And so I clicked on some of those, and I still don't care for it. And I just think it was kind of wrong in a lot of ways. But no big shocker. There is brilliant guitar playing on there. And so for me, I think that's kind of neat. A song on A Different Kind of Truth just popped up on my phone the other day. And I knew a lot of those riffs because they were from the demos and everything, but I hadn't really listened to the latest recording of it since it came out, probably. And so I listened to it, and it was really cool. And it really made me smile because it's like hearing new Eddie Van Halen when you know that we don't get any more new Eddie Van Halen, right? Yeah. And so it's like, it was a tremendous gift and really cool. And the idea that it popped up, if not on the actual day, maybe the day before the anniversary of his passing, that was not lost on me. And I dug it, and it's cool. And again, if you're going to be a historian of this and sort of the musicologist of the Van Halen catalog, then you got to dig through all that stuff. And so I think probably as time goes on, I will more. And I'm actually really looking forward to what Wolf releases from 5150, because I do think he's probably, when the dust settles, going to go through a lot of that stuff. And I mean, there are just hundreds of hours of music there. And so, yeah, as you were saying, you hope there'll be some more of the keyboard stuff. I'm positive there will be, right? It's like the guy was just impossibly creative and productive. And yeah, and I get to see Wolf tomorrow. He's playing the Aftershock Festival. And so I may not catch all the bands, but I'm going to see him for sure.
Awesome.
That's great. Well, because Eddie, I know you got to run, Matt, but when you talk about Van Halen, it's hard to stop. It really is, because you just seriously get flowing. You start, going crazy with this stuff. But because obviously Eddie had mentioned that a lot of the stuff that he writes, you know, like Unchained, for instance, was written on piano or keyboard, whatever. I would love to hear those original recordings of him writing that stuff on piano.
Right.
You know, he recorded it, you know, that would be
Yeah.
awesome.
No, it's just, again, you know, the guy was just impossibly musical. And, you know, there's pictures of him with his cello and all this. And, you know, supposedly he could, I have no problem believing he could play cello and shred on it. But supposedly he could play like saxophone. And like, I don't think he could come across anything that was some kind of musical instrument and not be able to do something creative with it. And yeah, it's the coolest thing. And again, you know, we're yeah, look at that. Okay, there you go. See, you know more about it than I do. That's awesome.
There you go.
And now, do you have any recordings of him playing saxophone?
No.
Not I've
yet.
never heard of such a thing, but I'd love to hear it. And yeah, and just, I don't know. You know, again, it's like I've said this about Jason Becker too. You know, it'd be easy to call him a 1 in a billion talent, but that would mean there's like somewhere between 7 and 8 of them, right? And we just know that's not true. You know, so Van Halen is just beyond a 1 in a billion talent. And again, we're the lucky ones. You know, we're the ones, you know, that got to experience this in real time. What a gift.
Mm-hmm. And we're old.
Everybody think real quick. The solo from When It's Love. Imagine that being played on the saxophone.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, you totally can. And that's a great solo. That's one that I had to learn for that band that I was in. And it's a great solo. And those, you know, none of those solos are really as demanding as stuff that occurred in the Dave era, you know, so it's not like the Unchained solo, and it's not like Eruption or whatever. They're incredibly difficult, intricate solos to play. And then the thing for me was trying to nail the notes, but it wasn't even that. It was getting out of the solo and getting back into the rhythm. And you can see video of him doing this. And I mean, I think we have to assume these are shows where he was good and hammered. He does it seamlessly, right? It's effortless for him to crush the solo, get right back into the rhythm, and in perfect time. And like, I don't know. I don't see how it's possible. You know, again,
he didn't have the luxury of being in a band with a second guitar player playing rhythm the whole time. So you could take that moment right before the solo and right after the solo to get into it and out of it cleanly.
Yep.
You know, because I mean, I was in a band with a rhythm, you know, another guitar player. So if I'm playing a solo, I have that moment. Okay, he's handling the rhythm. I can stop for a second, hit the lead channel, get into the solo, and then as soon as the solo is over, go back to the rhythm patch and jump right in instead of having like, hey, I'm the only guitar player. I got to make this sound seamless.
That's right. Yeah. And it's nearly impossible. You have to shortchange one or the other, either the rhythm or the solo, either the first note or the last note. And he never did that as far as I can tell. And I think it grew out of his ability to just be able to, you know, play all the fills and everything. And like I always thought about this where he said like, yeah, I don't like overdubbing, you know, I just want to do everything in one take. And like he would say, I don't even know how to overdub. And I'm thinking, no, that's just not true. Right. Because I heard the demos. I knew he overdubbed on that. And so I never really understood it. And then it was after he died and I was talking to a drummer friend of mine and he said, no. And he goes, I don't think that's what he means. I don't think he means the rhythm part and the guitar solo. I think he means all the fills in between. And he goes, I think he's thinking like a drummer. And he says some drummers do lay down a drum track and then they overdub their fills. But he goes, most of them don't. Most of them play their fills right on the drum track. It's all one track for them. And he goes, and I think that's what he was thinking. And I said, you know, he did start out on drums. And all of a sudden it made perfect sense to me, right? That like, yeah, he might punch in a solo, but the fills in between the verses and all that, no, he'd never punch that in, right? All that was just from the hip. He would do it all in one take, one pass, And I think that's why he was so great at getting into a solo and getting out of a solo, because that's what he did in the whole song.
That's how he learned. That's how he.
Right? The other 3 minutes, he's doing all that anyway. And
like
so
everybody wants some. All those little fills that he does.
Right. You know, and so I thought that was really cool. And I'm going like, yeah, that is what he's doing, because obviously he could overdub. And you know, there's all this great stuff that's coming out now from Brad Talinsky and Chris Gill in that book of theirs that I have to get, but I'm reading every excerpt.
I've got it right here.
I can get. All right, well, there you go. And my only gripe is they stole the picture that we used first for my my guitar player story, but and so no, it's fine, because I love those guys. But when I see people in the comments going like, "Oh my gosh, I've never seen that picture again," I'm going like, "Okay, I'm sitting right here," you know. But I just read a thing where he was talking about Pound Cake in there, and like, speaking of people who are sadly no longer with us, I got to do a bunch of interviews with Andy Johns, and Andy Johns produced Pound Cake, right? Produced that record. Yeah. And so he talked about that he, you know, had Eddie double his parts with 12-string guitar, electric 12-string. And he's going like, and he could do a great Eddie Van Halen imitation, which I'm not going to try and do, but he could really do it. And he's going like, "Oh, God damn it, Andy, I can't overdub." And he's going like, "Of course you can. You know, people do this every day, and they're not Eddie Van Halen. You can do this." And then he overdubbed the electric 12-string, and he goes, "God, Andy, I must be some kind of genius, you know?" And he's going, "Okay, yeah, maybe." And so in the Talinsky thing, they talk about that. It's in one of those things where he talked about how the tune basically came to life when he overdubbed the 12-string. And when you listen to that song, it's like, oh my gosh, yeah, that is what that tone is. You know, it's amazing. It's crazy. And
you try playing, you're like, yeah, the chords are right, but why doesn't it sound as chimey and
that's exactly it.
Yeah,
it's the chime, and it's especially
so much more going on there.
The breakdown right after the solo, where you really hear the 12 strings, and you're going like, okay, there you go, you know. And so that was one I would point to where I'm going like, no, of course he could overdub, but I really like the way this drummer friend of mine described it. Is like, no, it's not about an inability to do overdubs. It's about how he could never decouple the fills in between the verses from the rhythm parts to it's all one thing to him. Yeah. And man, it's incredibly cool. And I just realized like, now I'm way more compartmentalized than that, right? For me, the rhythm track's the rhythm track, the solo's the solo, and I don't even do fills in between the verses, right? So I have no concept of this.
Because that's what I was about to ask you guys too, is like, I've never, it's one of those guitar playing things that I've always seen like lessons on how to kind of get into that, like going from rhythm to like, you know, back and forth, you know, playing little fills here, going back to the rhythm. And it's almost something in my brain's telling me, don't even try that, because it's like, it's not going to work for me type of thing. I've always like almost shied away from that. But when you see guys like a Satriani or Vi or Eddie Van Halen do it, almost like they've been doing it for a million years, and it's seamless and just, it's a part of their playing. To me, that's very impressive, because I don't know how you guys are, but I've never even really tried to attempt that stuff, because it's, I don't know, almost afraid to.
Well, for me, it's partly a tone thing as well, you know, that it playing primarily like sort of pop-ish rock. My rhythm tone won't be super conducive to playing lead lines, right? And so unless I'm going to dance on a couple different presets, it's like, no, I have my rhythm sound and then I have my lead sound. And the lead sound will be typically, you know, overdriven with some delay and reverb and like, you know, the kind of stuff that we all grew up on. And so I think part of it is that his sound was very conducive to that. And just like Vi and Satriani and Dimebag, you know, those guys, there really wasn't much of a difference between their lead sound and their rhythm sound, right? And so I do think then it's a little bit easier. And I also think they were ruling the roost on those tunes. Those tunes are all so guitar driven. The guitar is front and center. And so it's a little bit easier for that. But but then, yeah, I think what you just spoke to, that you sort of have to be wired that way. And it's funny because I love so many players that do that.
Yep.
But it's never been as big a part of my trip, just because I kind of couldn't get away with it, until you play in a Van Hagar cover band. So,
you
maybe
gotta
that's
do
how
it.
you do it.
You
There
gotta
you
do
go.
it. Yeah, because I'm a metal guy, and like you said about before, it's like you got the rhythm parts, and then you got the solo, and you might kind of during recording or whatever put a couple things in there here and there, or maybe like the outro chorus, you might put a melody line under that, but it's still to me a separate thing. Like I'm not going to sit there and unless you're playing it live and you have to, but if I'm recording, I'm going to do all that stuff, the whole rhythm track, and then I'm going to put in anything else over top of it on a separate, on separate stuff. It's like you said, it's a separate thing in your brain that you think of it differently. And those guys, so many great players, it's all just one thing, playing guitar and doing
Right.
all that stuff at once and together.
Mm-hmm. It's all the song.
Yep.
Yeah.
Van Halen, we could talk about this. God.
This is what we do. This is what Johnny and I always do. This is just the first time we've kind of recorded it, but this is
Yeah.
It's just so funny. Like when I had my job at Guitar Player, we'd get together after work and go out and grab a beer, and we would talk about guitars and guitarists. And I'm going, I wonder if bankers do this. They get off work and they go, I really want to talk about banking. And maybe they do, and again, no judgment, it's fine. I just feel so lucky that like this is what we do for a living. And then when we're not doing it for a living, what do? We talk about guitars and guitarists and talk about Van Halen. And so it's funny for me, like if anybody I went to high school with sees this, they're going to go, man, you're wearing the same clothes and you're talking about the same stuff that you did in high school.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, look at this jacket,
There you go. Because my brother, like I said before, he's 4 years older than I am. I mean, he got me into this stuff, as a kid. And, when him and I talk, it still always goes back to, I always ask him about like the concerts he went to as a kid before I was allowed to go. And it's always, we've talked about the same things numerous times over the years, but it's still fun and it's still cool,
Yeah, it is. It is. And again, talk about something that we should be grateful for. We're the lucky ones.
We are. Yep.
Definitely. Let's see. Sorry. Well, it's 7. It's 7 o'clock. I know, Matt, you do have something.
Yeah, so to speak, but it's like I feel like I've just been babbling, so I don't want to babble anymore. I really appreciate the conversation with you guys.
Well, you got to come back. You got to come back again because
I would love to.
Dude,
Yeah, we absolutely love to.
We do these all the time. I mean, I've been sitting here for the last 7 years doing this.
He hasn't moved.
No.
I can't believe I haven't made one, but I do. I lurk occasionally, and see friends on there. But no, I would love to come back. I would.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. Definitely. All right. So I guess we'll call it.
Well, Johnny, hold on a second.
Or not.
Do you hold on? Wait. Do you want to? Because I know you have an unboxing and I have an unboxing. Do you want to let Matt go? I know we usually don't like to continue after we have a guest because sometimes that can be rude. But I can't wait to open this.
Oh.
If you think I'm waiting until tomorrow night on Saturday Night Live to open it, you're out of your mind.
Okay.
I will absolutely let you guys get to your unboxing, and I'll see it after the fact because I love a good unboxing video. But thank you so much for the hospitality. This has been great, and I'm happy to be here. I appreciate it very much.
Yeah, Matt. I mean, it's so great to talk to you again because it's been a long time. And
I know
again,
it's been too long.
You're welcome anytime.
Thank you.
I mean, anytime you want, and hopefully we can hang out in person.
I know. One of these days, I would love it.
How far are you guys away from each other?
Not far.
Well, I'm in Santa Cruz now, but when we used to do those jams we talked about, I was in Walnut Creek. So it was just through the Caldecott Tunnel it was just like literally a 10-minute drive to those jams. It used to be. But we're close. I mean, we're same area.
We're close enough, for sure. Yeah. So we'll make it happen. We will.
Awesome.
Matt, it was a pleasure
All
meeting
right.
you.
Yes, my pleasure indeed. So thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate it very much.
All right. All right. Matt Blackett, everybody. All right. We'll see you later, man.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. There we go. Bye, Matt.
Do I need to do anything? Or?
Here,
No, just sit there uncomfortably for the next few minutes.
I do like it. Yeah. Oh, God. That's even more. Wow.
All right. I'll see you, man.
Okay. See ya.
Bye-bye. There we go.
That was awesome.
Yeah. Yes. Man. Okay, so you got to open that box then, you're saying, huh?
Oh, I got to open it.
Okay.
Ellie almost made me open it before I even got upstairs tonight. So I have to open it.
Okay. Okay, cool. Cool. Yeah, I've got an unboxing too from Sherman. I don't know if Sherman is here. I don't really have the Facebook. Did Facebook go down today? I know Instagram kind of crapped out for a little bit. And I know
I'll be right back.
a lot of people were freaking out,
Real quick.
you know. Real quick. There we go. Hang on. Okay. By the way, let me just say this is a podcast. So make sure you subscribe to the Johnny Beane podcast. Available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, on Facebook, on the Johnny Beane TV Facebook page as well. There's a new, I need to redo this graphic. There's a new tab where you can actually click on podcasts, and these episodes are available for you. Let's see. Let me just get rid of. Where's the regular graphic? I think that one. That one. There we go. There we go. Yeah, Sharon, is Sherman over on Facebook? Yeah, because I think Facebook was kind of down today. Oh no, Instagram was. But I was over there. Let me see if Sherman is there. I mean, I'd like to unbox this if Sherman is here, because
God, I had to pee so bad.
it's from Sherman. Yeah, I'm on my third trip in a second.
I'm gonna get a new chapstick up here. It's below the thing.
Uh-oh.
I've been digging the bottom of the barrel with this chapstick for a while, but it's banana cream. It's so good.
Oh, that looks good, man.
Yep. So
Okay.
yeah,
I don't think
I have to
Sherman
open this. I have to open this.
Okay.
Tonight, so.
Okay.
Do you want to wait for that one for tomorrow then?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll save mine for tomorrow because we usually see Sherman on Saturday nights.
Okay.
So I'll save mine for yeah, I don't see Sherman in the chat. Actually, I think he might have sent me a message or something.
Well, let's make sure it's not perishable.
No, it's not.
Okay.
I think I know what it is. My stomach is growling so bad. Hopefully,
Is that what that was? I thought it was an airplane outside.
Yeah, I'm starving.
It's like, damn, that thing's flying awfully low.
I'm starving. Let me check my messages. I think he might have sent me a message.
Should I rock and roll with this one?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I'm excited.
Oh, I'm excited. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I took off all the labels or whatever. So here we go.
Oh my gosh.
Look at that. Would you look at that? So we got a couple of the what are these, Johnny?
Oh, that's the Cajun mix.
The Cajun mix.
It's like a trail mix. Cajun. Oh, those things are so good.
Yep, got a couple of those. We got, oh my goodness. the whole thing of vegan caramel. This is for my brother. I should make fun of him right now, but I'm not going to. Hey, can I get a thing of vegan? Like, dude.
I'm sure it's still amazing.
I'm sure it is. Maybe I'll have to try it. Oh, it didn't come, dude. I don't know what happened. He didn't send it. We got, you know what these are?
Oh,
chocolate
cashews. Oh, wow.
Yep. Now, he didn't send me 10 pounds of them this time because I told him maybe you shouldn't, because I eat the whole thing. Got that.
Because you had to buy a wider chair.
Yeah, a bigger shirt. So I got the V-neck, so it'll go all the way, We got some. Oh, this one got crushed. So I'll show you this one. Popcorn balls for Ellie.
Oh, wow.
Yep, she likes the popcorn balls. Grab it like an apple. Got that. This one got a little smushed in there.
Oh, still delicious.
Still delicious. We got. Oh my God, dude. For any of you that have, this is some Halloween stuff. Look at that. Got some Halloween goodies in there. Maybe I should screw it. I'm going to take everything out. Why not, right? Got some Halloween gumballs. We got some Halloween gumballs. Ghoulish gumballs. That's what they are. Got some Halloween pretzels.
Oh, my goodness.
Uh-oh. Ellie's going to love these. Some wax teeth. And some wax vampire teeth.
Oh, wait a minute.
A skull candy or a lollipop. A spider web lollipop. Is that how you say that?
Yeah.
What are these? Whoa. Spiced milk chocolate malt balls.
Oh, my goodness.
Spiced. Whoa. I may have to check those out in a minute.
Somebody's going to be breaking into all those bags tonight.
And then we got obviously the movie theater, the sea salt and
yeah, that stuff is so good.
Yep. And then
that stuff doesn't even make it into a bowl. I just eat it right out of the bag.
Dude, got the Chicago mix. Not one.
I'm so hungry.
But two.
Oh.
2 Chicago mix. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the Colonel's unboxing.
Delicious.
Delicious. Best popcorn on the planet. If you find better.
Which you won't.
But
if you think you have, you didn't.
Yep. And yes, if you order online, you can order. And at the very last, right, Johnny? One of the very last steps has a little note section or something. Just put that you know me or Johnny or mention our names, Johnny Beane TV, whatever. And you get extra stuff.
Yeah. That's amazing. Yeah, Colonel's, gourmet popcorn and more.
Ooh. The spiced milk chocolate malt ball. Well, that's good. Hey, Jeannie, you're going to have to wake up to try one of these. Let's go. Should be sleeping. Let's go put one in her mouth.
You got to try this.
Those are good because you know what it is. It's not like overpowering. It's just a little hint of spice with the milk chocolate. That's good.
I was gonna say that sounds like a viral TikTok.
Yeah. Oh man, yeah, I'll do it live, Johnny. I'll switch to my phone real quick. I'll bring it down there. Yeah, Kurt.
Oh my!
She can handle the malt ball while she's asleep. Maybe she can handle something.
Oh!
What do you do? We got to get one of these sound machines with like a zipper effect on it.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Well, I got to say that tonight was a really, really, I mean, I know I'm here, but I thought it was a great show.
Yeah. Come in. Oh, it was amazing. It was amazing. I mean, like I told you, you know, I've known Matt for years, and I would normally see him at Jason Becker's house for Jason's birthdays, or I'd see him at these jam sessions, or NAM once in a while. You know, we'd run into each other, literally. You know, but no, Matt's been a great guy, and for years I've kind of thought about, oh, maybe Matt should come on, and yeah, and he's started seeing the show, and he called me. He's like, Johnny, you know, looks like you guys are having a great time. Let's do this.
I don't want to ask to be on, but I want to be on.
Well, I mean, for years, and I think I've said this, I feel kind of funny asking friends to come on these things, you know?
Really?
Yeah, that's kind of strange. But now it's all my friends are finding out that I'm doing this, and they're all making their way on these shows now.
And they're probably like, dude, why don't you ask me to be on? I thought we were friends. That's probably what they're thinking.
Yeah. It's weird, the world now. It's just strange.
Yeah, I get you.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Matt Blackett. Had a great time. He will be back. He'll definitely be back.
Oh yeah.
Let's see. What, tomorrow night, Saturday night, with possibly your host John BL. We actually did a viewing. We were in a Google Meet. We actually, you know how he's working on this Van Halen documentary type of thing. We actually, Neanderthal and I, we showed up and we actually watched a private viewing of this film that he's making, and it was actually pretty good.
Was it? I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, it was pretty good. So, was that last night?
Yeah, that was.
Or
Was it?
Not before. It was recently. No, it wasn't last night because I wasn't here yesterday. I was out of town.
Yeah, so it was Wednesday night then. Yeah.
It was night before. So he had said he'll maybe possibly be around. But we had asked Kurt 5150. I actually don't even know his real last name. So to me, that's his name.
That is his last name, isn't it? 5150.
I think legally it is now.
Yeah, I thought he changed it.
So Kurt will be joining us tomorrow, probably half an hour, maybe an hour into tomorrow's show. Kurt will be here.
He's here.
So, there is.
Yeah, did John BL find out that Kurt will be joining us? So then John's like, "Oh wait a minute, I'll be on."
Yeah. No, Saturday nights forever, you know, is John BL night. You know, even when he gets mad and quits on air at some point, like what eventually happens, it'll still be the John BL hour. So anyway, tomorrow it'll be a great time, no matter whatever happens. And I have an unboxing, so you guys will have to show up anyway.
Yep. That's right.
Right? John Buller. Okay. And I have giveaways.
Oh.
Which I got to figure out how and when. But you have to subscribe to this channel.
Yeah, you can't be some Johnny come lately. You got to subscribe.
Well, you can, as long as you subscribe.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. You're right. I said that the wrong way. What I mean is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, I've got these two basses back here.
Oh.
There'll be giveaways on the channel here.
Wow.
Two bass guitars. But you have to subscribe to this channel. You have to be here. It could be anytime. No, I got to figure out how to do it. But you have to be subscribed to the channel, definitely. Wait a minute, my lights didn't change, but I know they did because I just got an alert. Music Therapy Laz. By the way, dude, I will join you Sunday morning.
Ooh.
Sunday morning. I saw your comment. Music Therapy Laz has it was called the Guitar Mod Squad for a while. I don't know what he's calling it now. But yeah, I'll be there, man. I'll be there. Sending you guys off with some kernels. Funding. Well, I get this stuff for free. Going to place my order right after the show. Roxy Green Forever. There you go. There you go.
Hey now.
Roxy, we miss you. Music Therapy Laz, thank you. Thank you. And yeah, I'll be there Sunday, man. Sunday morning. Oh, Cobra Kakai is saying giveaways should be saved for Halloween.
I was gonna, when you mentioned the giveaways, we got to start. I'm sure Mancoot is all over this already, but we do have to talk to some places and see about. Obviously, I'll talk to Shay from Kernels. I'll make sure he has a giveaway pack. We'll see what anybody else wants to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, we'll do something. We'll do something.
Jeannie will be joining us. She's trying to figure out. I'm trying to press her into it, but she's trying to figure out either what or who she's going to be on Halloween.
What or who?
What or who? Yep.
In some cases, I could be meeting the same person.
That could be. So she's trying to figure all that out because it will be the night of the 30th, right? That's Saturday night.
I don't know.
So the Halloween night will be a Saturday night as well.
Is that true?
I think so. Yeah.
I think we kind of tried to figure this out recently.
Because last year it was on Halloween.
Yeah, we'll have a Saturday night. It'll be Saturday Night Live on the 30th.
Yep.
But then Halloween is on a Sunday.
Yeah, I can't, dude. Doing that on Sunday night when Ellie has school the next morning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there
especially
will be
two long shows, and we got the Friday night, then a Saturday night show, and then if we do another one Sunday night, that's going to be like,
yeah,
I'm going to be sleeping.
Yeah. Well, there definitely will be something Sunday because there is a Sunday night string change. Okay. So maybe it'll just be me sitting here eating candy dressed up as Joe Wentz. Maybe that's what the Sunday night show will be. That's all. That's the only costume I have. I have a Joe Wentz T-shirt and a hat and glasses, and I'm Joe Wentz.
There you go. So if anybody has any ideas for Jeannie, then don't be crazy. Funny ideas. Because I was thinking maybe John Biel will get her a bald cap, I have I have John Biel's old background saved, so I'll put the green screen,
Jeannie BL.
Yep, Jean BL.
Because she was already Jeannie Beane.
Jeannie Beane last year.
So it's Jeannie BL.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be a good one. Or
somebody mentioned she could be me. Who said that?
She could be you, and she could be Jeannie Hannon.
Yeah, Kevin Bethel said. Kevin Bethel said she should be you, Jay. She'll have to get a nose prosthetic. I'll have to get her one of those, the glasses and nose, and just rip the nose part off and put it over her face.
Groucho, yeah.
Yep.
Awesome. All right. I know it's getting later. All right, tomorrow night, Saturday night, with whoever shows up. Thank you. Thank you so much, channel members. We love all of you.
Kurt.
And if I gotta test out that my computer's still crashing. Twitch. I'll be doing some Twitch later tonight. 1 a.m. Eastern-ish. Or earlier. Join me on Twitch. Just search Johnny Beane TV on Twitch. All right. We are out of here. Johnny Beane TV.